Step 3, where we introduce a specific action in the form of a communication to the officials on your planet having to do with the idea of the revelation of information connected to what you term UFOs, UAPs, and extraterrestrial activities, information, and knowledge. We have crafted a specific letter for you to send out. We have transmitted this through the channel with very specific wording. The wording of this letter should be given out verbatim, so it is up to you to copy it intact, adding nothing, subtracting nothing. It will serve a very specific purpose of timing for things that are to come up in your near future and build a momentum of energy that can lead toward the acceleration of the probability of open contact on your planet. But again, it is up to you to decide to participate in sending this letter out in the way that it is instructed to do so. But again, the degree to which you are willing to participate in this will determine the vibrational state that is conducive to the idea of open contact and being in alignment with the Interstellar Alliance. Again, completely in your hands as to what degree you participate in this. But there are specific reasons for the timing of this as instructed in the letter, and the way in which it is presented, how it is worded. There are things that it will connect to. There are chords, in a sense, that it will strike within different people in very specific ways. We have, to some degree, in a limited fashion, done a similar experiment with you before as a kind of beta test to see how many people would participate. And this leads us to the creation of this version of it now that we are actually in the Interstellar Alliance social experiment. And this takes the form of step 3 to increase your activity, your physical activity, your engagement, your involvement in your world, specifically along these lines, specifically in this vibration, in this energy, to again gauge the degree of willingness that you have to present yourself in a certain way, to establish yourself within a certain frequency, within a certain vibration, and to state clearly from your particular perspective as an individual member of the Interstellar Alliance, the things that are relevant and important for activities in the world, for directions to be taken, for actions to be taken on your part and the part of others that will allow more probability to bring about the idea of open contact and to accelerate the timing of such. And so, to this purpose, in the delivering of step 3, Nania, I will ask you to read the Interstellar Social Experiment Step 3 out loud to share with all, and allow them to know that a download of this will be available for them to use in the way that it is instructed within what you are about to read. So please proceed.
Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment, Step 3. Send the following letter by email or regular mail to every government representative in Congress, Senate and House, and all party members, as well as to the presidents, premiers, scientific, military, and political leaders of every country on Earth, every 3 months until they take action as requested. And the letter should say, "Dear," and you name the person, "despite military, scientific, and political statements to the contrary, we believe that UFOs or UAPs do not represent a threat of any kind to national or global security or humanity at large. There is overwhelming and well-researched evidence and thousands of eyewitness accounts that these objects have been present throughout Earth's history without detrimental effect on the day-to-day affairs of humanity. Without supporting or promoting any related conspiracy theories, we believe that certain organizations are withholding knowledge of this phenomenon out of an irrational fear and for self-serving reasons. It's time for the secrets to end and a program of transparent public education to begin in service to humanity. Therefore, we respectfully but strongly request that you, in your official capacity, immediately and publicly disclose and release, within 1 year from your receipt of this letter, any and all information in your possession, or that you are aware of being in another person's possession, regarding UFOs, UAPs, and any and all indications of extraterrestrial life, activities, and technologies, and that you publicly state your support for the complete release of all such information without limitation, editing, redaction, ridicule, or falsification. Please be aware the members of this social movement intend to vote for and elect only those leaders and representatives who publicly and actively support and promote such disclosure, and with our votes, replace all officials who do not. Thank you. And this is from the Interstellar Alliance Social Experiment Group.
Thank you, Nania. When this download is made available to you, again, you may copy it, send it out as requested every 3 months, and when enough people do this, and the officials continue to receive these letters over and over and over again, and you allow yourself to do your research with regard to who is willing to support this idea publicly, and to ensure and assure that your votes will change those representatives should they not follow the requests involved in this transmission, then we will see how on your planet the idea of public opinion, the idea of public preference, the idea of the ability of the public to, as you say, move the needle on a subject in a direction that you prefer, will take effect to whatever degree you participate, to whatever degree you understand that you are your governments, to whatever degree that you will stand up and declare for yourself the ideas that are connected to the larger galactic family to which you belong, and your passion at experiencing the vibration of contact, the vibration of the Interstellar Alliance, and the changes that you may make in shifting to versions of Earth that are more and more and more representative with each transmission you send out, to act as a navigational tool to move you in the direction of the version of Earth that will be more and more and more representative of open contact, so that you may experience an acceleration toward that end. So it is of critical importance for those willing to participate that you allow yourself to send it out. We understand again that some of these challenges may require action on your part. You may need to rearrange some schedules in order to send them out to all of the individuals that are suggested within the letter. But again, the degree to which you are willing to participate, the degree of fullness to which you participate will make a difference, and the degree to which a lot of those individuals will receive these transmissions will also let them know what the general population prefers and what the general population will support or not support in moving forward toward the end of open contact. So, every 3 months is sufficient, considering the volume of the letters that will be sent out again and again, the same letters over and over. You will eventually see an effect. And we will be watching, we will be gauging, we will be observing, again, as a barometer, to what degree the needle is moving toward open contact and away from fear and secrecy. So we thank you for your participation ahead of time. And in return for your willingness to participate in this social experiment and your willingness to take action on step 1, step 2, and step 3, for remember, you do not stop doing the original steps. You keep doing everything as best you can, and you add to it with every step that we deliver to you. So, in return for this, I ask you now, in what way may we continue to be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and your dialogue if you wish.
Hello, Bashar. Good day to you. I remember you stating in a previous transmission that once a person makes a change, it is a complete change, and that change includes the person's past, present, and future, and also that you never were that person. My question is, why is it that ourselves and those who are close to us remember the past of the former version, especially if it is something that may not be preferred? Thank you for your time.
Because it is still something you're creating in the present that is relevant. That's why. You create the history over and over and over in the present as long as elements of it remain relevant to the theme that you're choosing to explore. So even though you're not the same person and you don't have the same history, you are recreating something similar every moment as long as it remains relevant to your theme.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Thank you so much. I just had a couple of questions, and thank you for being willing to interact with me. I appreciate it.
It is our passion and our pleasure to do so.
I was wondering if my daughter and or I are hybrids, and you may or may not be willing to answer that question.
All humans are hybridized. There is no such thing as a human that is not. But you are not hybrids in the sense of the ones that live on spaceships. You are not hybrids in the sense of the ones that are created through the hybridization program. But many humans have had genetic alterations by having encounters in different layers of reality that hybridize you further. But the idea is that you are not the hybrids being created on the spaceships in the hybridization program, but you are part of the hybridization program that is going on Earth for the evolutional purpose of humanity.
Thank you. Do I have a specific gift or one that needs to be remembered or awakened in this lifetime?
Well, what are you passionate about doing?
I don't know. This seems to be a very...
All right. Remember that when we ask you what you're passionate about, it doesn't have to be a life-spanning career or a large-scale project. We assume right now that you are having this conversation with us because this was the most exciting choice you could make at this particular moment. Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, that's all you have to do. When this conversation is over, look at all the regular options available to you, the ordinary options, and just pick the one that has even just a little bit more attractiveness, more curiosity, more excitement, more passion in it than any other, even just by a little bit, and act on that first. Take it as far as you can till you can take it no further. When the excitement naturally wanes and you make sure you're not the one dampening the excitement, then you look for the next thing that contains more excitement than anything else and act on it next. And you just keep doing that. Then it will usually snowball into bigger and bigger opportunities to act on your excitement. And then you will be following the formula and being of service to humanity in that way. Does that make sense? Do you understand?
Yes. Thank you.
So it's not a big mystery. It's not difficult to do. Just do it a step at a time. Keep it simple. And it will build and bring you, through synchronicity, more opportunities to act on your excitement, possibly in bigger and bigger ways. Yes?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's how it works. So does that remove the mystery? Does that remove any confusion?
Yes.
All right. Is that something that you believe you can do?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sir. So formal.
Sorry, it's a habit.
All right, ma'am.
In this lifetime or in my dreams, I've interacted with several different types of beings, and I'm wondering why there are so many different forms. I feel like some people have just one that they focus in on, be they past souls or something like that. Am I meant to interact with a particular type, or am I just...
You all have many different guides and many different connections. Sometimes one will be predominant, but at other times others will take turns based on the reason why they're connecting to you, the reason why they're helping you, whatever your connection may be with them, and of course based on their skill set as well, because different guides have different skills, different reasons for assisting you. So it just depends on what's going on at any given moment in your life as to who you may attract to be of assistance to you, be it an extraterrestrial being, an extra-dimensional being, a spirit guide, a member of your soul family, a parallel reality version of yourself that is aware of how to connect with you in this way. It can shift and change dynamically all the time. Some people will maintain a connection to maybe one specific version of a guide, but that doesn't mean it's always the case.
Thank you. And one of those was, maybe it sounds odd, maybe it doesn't, was a mechanical spider. It sounds very strange, but it was above my face while I was sleeping, and I awoke feeling it right above my face at two different points in my life. And it was one entity being thing that actually created a lot of fear in me because I was not expecting it to be there, and I didn't know if it felt real in the moment. But I realized you said that when we're sleeping, we're awake, and we're awake, we're sleeping, essentially. So I'm just wondering if you know the purpose of why it presented itself to me.
Well, it is a projection of consciousness that took the form that you say gave you an opportunity to experience fear within you. So it allowed you to practice transforming that fear.
Got it.
It gave you an opportunity to do so.
Because I find that now I don't have fear when I come across any of the different entities when I'm sleeping or astral projecting or whatever it is.
All right, well, there you go.
Curiosity.
Yes, well, it gave you an opportunity through a representation of what you would have a fear reaction for to exercise your ability to transform that fear and let it go.
Okay, well, that's simple enough. And those are all the questions that I had.
All right, well, we thank you for the co-creation of this interaction this day of your time. Our unconditional love to you. Aveo.
Thank you. Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. My name is Tamara, and my question is in regards to my mother who passed away in 2015. And ever since she died, I have periodically had really bad nightmares about her. I've never had an instance where she's come to me in a really kind of magical, mystical way with the white light and telling me that she's okay and all of that. All of the dreams have been very negative and very scary. She's told me several times in my dreams that she doesn't know where she is. She's scared, she's alone, and that's really upset me. And I don't know how to get her out of there, or if I even can from where I stand in the physical. So if you could tell me where she is, and if she's not in a good place, if I could help her get to somewhere that is good, because my mom was a really good person when she was on planet Earth in the physical. Thank you.
She is in spirit and she is fine. What you are experiencing is a reflection of something going on within you about your own fears. She's bringing them out in you, but it's not about her. It's about you. We cannot go deeply into this if we cannot communicate more directly with this person at this time, because there are things we would need to explore in depth. But it's not about her, it's about you, and something she is attempting to get you to look at that is a fear within yourself, in your belief system. She is fine.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day. What would you like to discuss this day?
Sure. So I guess I have a couple questions. Probably sound a little bit weird, but a couple months ago I had, I guess I was awake in bed. I looked over at my wife, on my wife's side, and the pillow turned into almost like a face. And it was very distinct. It was a man's face with a big beard. And at the time I didn't know who that was or anything. And I ended up looking it up, and it looked like it was the face of an Anunnaki. Or when I looked at it further, it kind of showed that it was Enki, I believe. And it looked at me and it said, no, no, no. Now, I wasn't fearful or scared or anything. I was kind of in a bit of shock. So I looked at it, and then I realized later it wasn't saying no, no, no. It was saying no, 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 as in
K-N-O-W.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I guess my first question is why did I see that? What does that all mean? What's it trying to tell me? What do I need to know?
Well, you were in the proper state to receive direct communication from another level, from interdimensional spirit realms that allow you to know that you can be more than you are, that you are more than you are as a physical being, that you're connecting to the guides that you have, connecting to the information and knowledge that you need to know. How did it feel vibrationally?
I mean, I guess I was kind of shocked, just trying to talk myself that what I was seeing was real and that it wasn't made up or anything.
All
Yeah.
right. But I'm not asking you how you felt emotionally. How did you feel vibrationally?
I guess I felt kind of excited.
All right. Then remember that feeling, because that's the vibrational state to come from in all the actions you do in life that are representative of your truth, your passion, who you really are. They're giving you an opportunity to recognize what your true vibrational state is, your natural state, your core essential vibration. So, and it's also a reminder of the ancient wisdom, which is why it kind of came in a representation of a very ancient form. Know thyself, K-N-O-W. So the idea is the more you know yourself, the more you will be your true self, the more you will express your true self, the more you will constantly operate on that vibrational state that was reflected to you in that moment when you were kind of out of the way, when your physical mind was willing to open up and allow you to receive that particular reminder, that particular reflection at that time.
Okay, perfect. So then this brings me back to another experience that I had in my mid-20s. Again, I was in bed. My wife was beside me. Her father had just passed away. So at the time, I saw a figure in the room. It was very tall with long fingers. It walked over to my wife's side of the bed. And again, I was trying to question myself whether I was seeing things or not. And then I saw the pillow move, and I knew right away that this was real. And I woke her up and told her about it. And then later on, after I started following some of the stuff you were saying, I'm not sure if it was her dad that I was seeing, but if it was maybe something else. I was hoping you could shed some light on that.
It was something else. The father energy was present as well, but what you were seeing was something else that has to do with extra-dimensional and extraterrestrial connections and participation in what we call the hybridization agenda and the evolution of humanity.
So was that me being a participant in that, or was that my wife being a participant in that?
At the moment, your wife at that time, but your awareness of it is because you are participating in another way.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. In the last several weeks, I heard you speak in Sedona, and since then we've had multiple sightings of flashing lights. Once in Sedona and 3 times in Kelowna, BC, where I live. And I'm just wondering, why am I seeing this so much lately? Including my wife and my family are seeing it too now. We're all seeing it in.
Because you allowed yourself to wake up to the fact that there is a different reality around you that was heretofore invisible. Anytime that you're willing to expand your consciousness, your senses expand along with it to allow you to see what is around you all the time, but most people don't ordinarily see.
So these aren't ships that I'm seeing, right? They're
Yes, some of them are. Some of them can be entities unto themselves. There's a lot of traffic and a lot of activity around your planet. It's just that most people don't see it because they're not on the same wavelength.
Okay.
But once your senses expand, once your senses sharpen, then you can see things that you couldn't see before. That becomes what you call your new normal.
And my senses can be sharpened further by practicing the formula, I assume.
Well, yes, by acting on it, yes.
Okay.
If that is what you mean by practicing.
Yes. May I ask one more question after this question?
Go ahead. And thank you for your cleverness.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just trying to be, I wasn't trying to be clever. I just wanted to make sure that,
That was not an admonition.
Okay.
It was a compliment.
Oh, thank you. So my last question was, again, I live in Kelowna, BC, on the Okanagan Lake, and here there's tales of the Ogopogo. And again, our family has felt like we've seen a few instances where we've seen it. Is the legend of the Ogopogo real? Is it harmful to us?
It is not harmful to you. It is real, but again, you're dealing with interdimensional beings that can come and go, which is why it is seen so infrequently.
So
similar to the idea of Sasquatch and Yeti.
Okay. Have I seen it lately? Like, is that real what I'm seeing then, like in the water?
Sometimes. Sometimes it is a trick of the light. Sometimes it is an alteration of perception into a different reality and not in yours. So you have to be able to discern and tell the difference, what reality you're looking at. And sometimes it's in what you consider to be your typical reality. So it just depends.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, Bashar.
Our unconditional appreciation to you as well. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. I'm wondering if you can provide me information about a species of extraterrestrial beings I met during an astral projection. I saw a male and female of this race. They were very, very lean, extremely low body fat, and dense, ripped muscles on their arms. They had ridges along the side of their face, and they were wearing a black and yellow garment that looked sort of like leather, and it reminded me of the fusion jacket from Dragon Ball Z. It also had ridges along the arms. The fusion jacket is interesting because that makes me think, well, maybe these are hybrids, as they're alluding to fusion. And I'd also like to comment that the name Varya came to me, and I'm wondering maybe these beings are connected to the Virgo constellation. Please expand if you can. Thanks.
What you were given is a projection, an interpretation. You are not seeing the beings as they actually are. This is a race of beings we are not allowed to discuss at this time, but that you are connected to. It does have to do with Virgo, but that's all we can say. But what you saw is not exactly what they are. It was made up of an interpretation of things from your mind so that you would have something to relate to. These encounters can continue, and you may gain more familiarity with them over time. But it is not our job to discuss this further.
Hello.
Good day, good day.
Good day, Bashar. So excited to see you.
We thank you. It is our passion and our pleasure to interact with you as well. What would you like to discuss?
So my first question is, which which extraterrestrial race do I have? Do I have any connections with any extraterrestrial race like the Sirius or Bosnia in location?
All humans have connections to extraterrestrial races. The ones that are most common for humanity are the beings from the Sirius star system, the Pleiadian star system, the ancient Orion systems, Arcturus energy, hybrids, grays, Lyrans sometimes, tall whites, Andromeda galaxy, so on and so forth, plus several others we're not allowed to discuss. But all humans to varying degrees and at different moments have stronger or weaker connections that they download information and experience from to all of these different ET races that are involved with the evolution of Earth.
Okay, thank you. And so do I have any, extended family members on the other side who are, whom I might meet at some point?
Yes, you all have soul family members that are non-physical.
Okay, so that when open contact happens, we get to meet them. Is that?
You're talking about extraterrestrials, you're talking about spirits. Because when you say family members on the other side, it means spirits.
Extraterrestrials.
Yes.
Like extraterrestrial, like people.
You may meet some of your extraterrestrial counterparts when open contact occurs, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And another one is about the Judeo-Christian culture. I think you spoke about the Merovingian bloodline. Are they still around?
They are. It goes all the way back to the idea of the Anunnaki bloodlines. So it still exists in many individuals. It exists in all of you to some degree. Some individuals, some strains, some cultures have a little bit more of it, more direct route to it than others, but it exists in all of you.
Okay. What, with regards to the wars that are, a lot of divisions that we see today, and also, with regards to steps or methods do you recommend to resolve many of these clashes or conflicts and, and the climate as a whole for the Earth? Like, what do you recommend the best path? What course of action do you think we should, both as individuals and as a collective?
It is very important to let go of fear-based beliefs, negative beliefs, to have understanding and compassion for each other, that each of you walk a different path for a good reason, that there isn't just one way to do things, that there are several ways to do things, as indicated by the number of individual paths that exist, that it all leads to the same place, it all leads home, it all leads to the same source, it all comes from the same source, and to let go of the idea that you have the only truth, the only perspective that counts, but to understand and validate the individual differences among all of you to create true unity, true harmony.
But when people give you opinions or truths per se, so how do you settle, or how do you so is it like a subjective? Is it completely subject to what works for each individual, or is there an ideal path which would works best for most people? Because if more,
this is why we give you
agree on.
This is why we give you the formula. And the only reason most people don't agree is because they're too caught up in their own belief system and not really looking at the fundamental reasons why those beliefs exist. Once you examine those beliefs and let go of the ones that are truly no longer relevant for you, truly not representative of your core frequency, there will be no disagreement. There will be validation of the differences, and the differences will be seen in a different light. And they will be seen as different ways to reach the same source. So you have to let go of the fear-based and negative beliefs to see it that way.
Okay. So that's part of how we end up activating many of our genetic markers.
By following the formula, you raise your vibration. By raising your vibrational frequency, you activate the genetic markers that are relevant for you at this time to allow for the expansion of consciousness.
Thank you. And finally, do you have any personal advice for me as an individual, like what I should do, what path I should take, or
Follow the
with
formula.
regards to
Follow the formula
Okay.
as precisely as
Thank
possible,
you.
because you are unique, and therefore you have your way of expressing your passion and acting as a living example to others of how they can do so for themselves as well. So just by following the formula precisely, then you will be doing everything you can possibly do to serve humanity, which will then in turn serve you.
I like when I follow the formula at many points, I encounter, divisions. I mean, not divisions, but how do I say, difference of opinion and difference of interest when it comes to language and how we communicate. Is there at some point where those get resolved?
Absolutely. Because again, when you raise your frequency, you become more and more empathic and telepathic, and you know what each other are thinking without necessarily using the languages. The languages will start to fall away when you allow yourselves to identify and feel what others are feeling, to relate to it, to understand it, to have compassion for it. When you fall in love with one another, you will speak a different language. Does that help you?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, we thank you.
Yes,
Aveo.
absolutely.
Good
Thank
day.
you so much. Aveo. Day. See you, Bashar.
Hi, Bashar. I have a question about an experience that I had. It was kind of like a dream, but it felt real, where aliens came into my house and asked me where I had gotten a big black cube that was sitting on my dining room table. I didn't know what it was or where it came from, and I told them that, and they said that I had wished for it when I was younger. And they mentioned a song that I used to sing from my favorite Disney movie. And then they took me out the window with them. And I also felt this buzzing and vibration in the back of my head. I was just wondering if you could give me any information on that, or if you knew. I'm really curious as to what the black box was, because they said I wished for it and I'm not really sure. I'm trying to figure out what it is. So thank you.
It is the truth about your being and your connection to them and your participation in the hybridization agenda. It was put into the black box so that you would open at the time when it was important for you to remember. It was hidden away until such time as it is important for you to remember your participation in the hybridization agenda. And what you experienced was a memory, not a dream. The buzzing is the effect of transitioning to a different vibrational reality. That's how your body interprets the change in frequency from one reality to another. It's not uncommon for people to experience that in having encounters that shift you to a different reality. It is often accompanied by a vibrational sound.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
Bashar, I feel like the language as we use it here has no adequate words to express how grateful I am for this opportunity of this exchange. And I would just like to say, with the words that I do have, thank you so much to you, to Darryl, and all the people behind the scenes who make this production and make this interaction possible.
It is our passion and our pleasure to do so, and it is our deep appreciation for the co-creation of this interaction to you.
Thank you. So I knew that I have just very little time with you today, and I was wondering, if synchronicity will show me what kind of questions I should ask. And then yesterday I saw a huge Dalmatian dog in front of my house, which is quite rare because it's not a dog race that is common here where I live. And I thought, okay, now I got the clue. And the reason why I won this raffle was a dream. I dreamt about the baby that was dressed in a blue overall. It looked to me like a few months old, but it said something that was so funny that my husband and I laughed really, this heartfelt laugh that you don't get often. And I asked it, how come you're so eloquent and so small? And he said something that I can't remember. And then I said, how old are you? And he said, 13 years. And I thought, how come he's so small? This can't be. When I woke up, I thought, wait a minute, this speech pattern that the baby had, this is Bashar, or his people talk like that. I remembered a study that was done with Darryl where they studied the content of the information that he was giving when he's channeling you. And I thought, okay, that has to do something with Bashar, this whole dream. And I thought, okay, what happened 13 years ago? I have no idea. And then I looked back at my dreams and I realized that 14 months ago, I had another dream where I was in a blue tube, again, this same blue, this eclectic blue, and I was talking with an ET. And this tube was like a frequency protector. So I was safe from the frequency that the ET was emitting, and we were so able to have a conversation. But I was still in this blue-black tube. And we were talking about Croatia or Dalmatia, hence the dog, yes. who I thought is the sign that I should be talking about that. And because I was clearly agitated in the dream, but in a positive sense during the dream, my husband woke me up because he was thinking I'm struggling. And then I lost the conversation and I was thinking, oh no, the ETs will think I'm so rude. I just disappeared without saying goodbye or something. And I have no idea what was spoken about, but I know it was about Dalmatia. So maybe you can shed some light on that.
First and foremost, do you remember what the child said that had you laughing?
No, unfortunately not.
All right. Remember that you are part of the hybridization program. You understand this?
I understand it since the 25th of March this year.
All right. Well, the child was a hybrid child. It wasn't me. It is a hybrid child that is connected to you.
Okay.
So, yes?
Does my husband also have hybrid children?
You both do, yes. Your genetics have been used, both of you, in the hybridization program. The idea is that the child is awakening within you more understanding, more expansion of consciousness, because again, the age of 13 is the symbol of transformation, the symbol of change, the symbol of letting go of the old ways and beginning the new ways, the symbol of a new cycle. So in that transformation, you are awakening to your participation, to the realization of your participation in the hybridization program. And this can carry you forward as an energy, as a momentum, into further exploration and further understanding of the role you can play in your area in helping with the awakening by being a living example of following the formula, following your passions, living your joys, living your dreams, acting through them in a way that allows others to see that they can do so as well. Do you understand?
I do.
So, much of the conversation that you were having in those encounters were taking place in a slightly altered reality. And the idea of the blue is a vibration that was acting as a buffer for the vibration of the ET, so you would not be overwhelmed. The idea then is to live up to the frequency that represents your higher self, your soul. And in what ways, I'm asking you, are you able to do that on your planet? How can you be of service to humanity by acting on your passions?
Um, I think by what comes to mind, the first thing that comes to mind is that I used to be working as a counselor,
Yes.
and I have overcome a lot of physical challenges, health challenges,
All
and all
right.
kinds of challenges. And I think this is an example that no matter what happens, I can still stay in a positive state,
Yes.
irrespective of.
You can transform. You can transform whatever it is and turn it into a lesson that expands your soul.
Yes.
So, why is it that you used to be a counselor?
Because right now I'm a student again. I'm studying meditation. I want to become a meditation teacher.
All right.
And
And so this is exciting to you, yes?
not
No.
100%, not 100%. I have to tell you, since I was informed that I want this interaction with you, I had another dream that really turned my life upside down. And would you permit me now to tell you the dream?
Briefly, yes.
Yes. So I had a dream that I was waiting for a bus, and next to me was a man in a wheelchair, and he wanted to go onto the bus, but took my luggage. And I said, "Sir," he was an army veteran, and I said, "Sir, this is my luggage." And then because I was pulling him back, he couldn't enter the bus. But because he was going forward towards the bus, I look at the bus and I see several mantis being standing on the bus. And I'm intrigued, benevolently intrigued. And I say to him, "Oh, look, there are mantis." And he said, "Oh, now I really have to get onto that bus." And the bus was going over a bridge from small city to big city. And the mantis were so alert. They were looking into the direction of where the bus was about to drive. And the air was filled with this alertness. You could cut it with a knife. That's how it felt to me. And I was thinking, okay, I'll go too. And then when I woke up, I asked my husband, "What do you know about the mantis?" And he said, "Not much." And I said, "I know nothing. I've heard the word, but I knew nothing." And then I started researching, and since then, I'm still grappling to fit it all together.
All right.
I read that they're connected with the Sasani, and I was thinking,
they are connected to the hybridization program. They are the overseers.
Exactly. If somebody had asked me just 3 weeks ago, "Do you want to learn more about the mantis?" I would have politely said, "No, thank you," because I thought I'm not interested at all in anything insect. And now I think, oh my God, I must be somehow connected with the hybridization program. Otherwise, I wouldn't be dreaming so rapidly after.
All right. The symbology is mixed up with an actual presentation on a slightly different level of reality of getting on a ship with the mantises, and the idea of the veteran who is in a wheelchair grabbing your bags is an indication that it is important to let go of old baggage that holds you back in order for you to move forward and join on that ship with the mantises to go from a smaller reality to a larger reality, which is what the bridge represents, going from a smaller city to a larger city. So it's about really letting go of the old baggage, because that baggage holds you back, and allowing yourself to be free enough to move forward, to get on the bus, so to speak, to go in that direction, and to expand your consciousness. Does that help you?
Yeah, that does help me. How is the number 55 and 11 connected to the mantis? I had another dream that 55 is mantis and 11 is Sasani. What does this mean?
5 is the number of humanity. The idea is that you create synchronistic numbers for yourself to let yourself know, as like road signs, when you are in the correct vibration to move forward, to come from, to act from in your life. So all the numbers are basically representative of connecting to the one, but expressing it through your human self in a way that is more representative of your higher mind, of your soul, the one.
Okay. And is the flower iris somehow connected to any of the hybrid children?
Yes, it is not only the name of a hybrid child, the idea of the iris is that which opens up wider to allow more light in.
Yes.
It is not just the idea of the flower. It is more the idea of the iris that opens in your eye, the iris that opens in a camera lens to allow more light in. So open up and let more light in. Let go of the old baggage that's holding you down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this serve you?
That serves me very much. Thank you.
All right. We thank you. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hey Bashar, this is your friend Teresa. Back in 1995, someone asked you about a race that he was calling the unseen ethereals because of their very pleasant ethereal aspect, as opposed to the fearful experience he was having with the Greys. You told him that that was a race you would call the founders, and that he was experiencing only one part of their nature, only the ethereal part of their nature, and that there was much more to them. And I'm wondering if you could talk more about the founders now. Have things changed enough since 1995 that you can give us more information on the founders? Thanks, Bashar.
No. However, there may be more about that group that will be presented within 3 to 5 of your years, not necessarily from us, but more information about them within 3 to 5 of your years, coming from a different source.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have so many great questions from our viewers.
All right.
Okay, and the first one has to do with the handout. What happens if we do a misstep on one of these steps? Like if we look into a conspiracy theory or get into some religious spiritual argument with someone. If we notice it, learn from how it feels and adjust, are we back on track, so to speak? Is there anything more we need to do if that happens?
No. If you learn from it, then if you go back into the instruction in the way it was delivered, then you are back on track. So learn a lesson, learn why you may have desire to engage in that way, and then get back into the vibrational state as encouraged by the step. And realize that it's not necessary to venture that way again. Unless you do, then again, learn from it, learn why you chose to go in that direction. This can be used, like a lot of other things, to determine what your belief systems are and why you choose to do what you do. So if you use it that way, then you are learning, you are growing. But again, the idea is to realize that there is no need to do it, and that following the instruction more precisely will be to your advantage in creating the vibrational frequency that will bring you into alignment with contact and the Interstellar Alliance, if that is what you prefer.
Okay. And in step one, you said not to engage in discussions about conspiracy theories in general. Given that the UFO cover-up has been considered as conspiracy theory, but is an actual conspiracy, would engaging in conversation about it be considered going against the rule of step one?
No, because it is beyond theory at this point. There are too many witnesses, too many sources, too many verifications from many different people. And therefore, it is out of the category of theory. So you can research, you can discuss. It has been suppressed and covered up. At this point, it is relatively obvious that there is enough research, enough validation from so many different sources of different types that you can consider it to be something that is real.
And does watching videos or stories about true or not true conspiracy theories and stories go against the interstellar experiment? What I mean is, I enjoy watching these forms of entertainment without being emotionally affected.
If it is research, if you can remain neutral in observing all of the input from those particular presentations, then it is research. But the idea is to allow yourself to pay attention to whether you are becoming caught up in it once again, if you ever were, and to remain neutral in the observation of those things so that you don't necessarily develop a strong opinion in one direction or another about what is true about them or not. If it is too challenging for you to not form an opinion, to not have strong perspectives on what it is you are watching, what it is you are absorbing, then again, it would be best for now to back off and remain neutral and maybe not absorb as much of the information. But if you can remain completely neutral, completely objective, and allow it all to simply be information for the purpose of research, then it is fine. But you have to pay attention honestly as to whether that's what you're doing or not.
Okay, and because you will be discussing in step 3 writing letters to specific individual officials around the globe regarding disclosure of UFO contact, and in doing so providing specific wording for us to use, I would appreciate if you could also give us instructions for non-native speakers of English. Is it okay to translate the wording you provided into our own native language and use it in whatever ways you may suggest? And is it okay to share what I have translated with the people of my own country who would also like to join the social experiment, so they can also send letters to specific individuals?
Yes, that is fine. However, one suggestion we would have would be, don't necessarily rely on your own translation unless you are a professional interpreter, a professional translator who is absolutely certain that your translation is accurate in terms of the intention and meaning behind the words that are delivered in English. So you can translate it into different languages, but for those who are not proficient at the translation, then we would suggest that you find someone who is and ask them if the translation, or ask them to translate it in a way that captures fully the exact meaning of the original language. So if you can do that, and you can know that it is accurately representative, then that is fine.
And also, one question that came up, some individuals may feel anxiety about being perceived as some sort of target or part of some conspiracy or something in their land. And what are some suggestions for dealing with anxiety about, in a sense, sticking out or making yourself, I guess you'd say, a target or something like that?
Well, this simply goes back to some of the original ideas we have discussed for many years. You have to examine your belief system and find out why you are perceiving this in a fear-based or negative way. If the idea is too challenging for you, then as we have said, it's up to you to decide not to be a part of the social experiment. As the word implies, it is a social experiment, which means it requires interaction with society. So if you find that too challenging and are unable to let go of any fear-based or negative beliefs you have surrounding your participation in this social experiment, then don't participate. Otherwise, get in touch with your belief systems as to why you believe that it would be a negative thing to move forward in this way, and learn to let them go. Learn to let those beliefs go. Learn to transform them into something more positive so that you can be coming from your self-empowerment, your indestructible core. But again, as always, it is up to you to decide whether this is something that you are capable of participating in or not.
And also the idea of, I guess, thousands of letters going out all over the planet. What do you anticipate would be the reaction from administrative levels of our planet to that kind of thing, onslaught happening?
One particular reaction would be that they understand that there is organization to these thoughts, that there is unification to these thoughts, that there is similarity beyond borders, beyond cultures. This is something that can awaken them to realize that this is an important issue to look at, an important issue to address. Beyond that, there is no insistence or expectation, but we know that that recognition will occur in many individuals when they see a massive amount of individuals, regardless of country, regardless of background, regardless of other belief systems, unified in the idea of requesting the release of this information.
Okay. And when you talk about the hybridization agenda by the Greys, it sounds like humanity agreed to it in some higher level, that the Earth becoming the sixth hybrid race is a part of that agenda, and this has already been decided. If humanity on a conscious level became aware of this as a fact, it would have been looked at as a silent, covert invasion and not something positive or beneficial. I suppose this is why it is being carried out in secret from the majority of the population. How would you explain this conundrum? Is the slow drip disclosure a part of making the general population accustomed to the idea? Would not carrying out this agenda result in humanity going the path of the negative timeline the Greys experienced?
No.
And without white lies, how would you explain it if you had an opportunity to have a transmission that the entire Earth could hear?
Again, the idea is that understanding your connection to your galactic family, awakening to your true potential, awakening to the agreements that you have made for the evolution of humanity, would do exactly the opposite of allowing you to go down the negative path that the Greys took. It would allow you more opportunity to choose the path that you prefer in a positive way. The idea of secrecy is, as you say, euphemistically, a kind of drip system that allows humanity to get used to the idea, but it is also what gives humanity the time to awaken and remember that they made this agreement, so that it doesn't feel forced, so that it doesn't feel like an invasion, as you say, so that you can take responsibility for the part you are playing in having made an agreement from a higher level to aid and assist in the evolution of humanity in this format, in this way. And it is the acceptance of this responsibility and the awakening to the memory of the choice that you made as a collective that would allow you to be able to choose a more positive path and not go down the path that the Greys took in their reality.
And so the idea of this being a timeline for humanity. It's just one timeline. So, of course, there will be those individuals who would not want to participate in this direction for humanity.
Yes, and they will have their own reality. They will move on and proceed as if this didn't happen. There are many versions of Earth and many different scenarios that you can navigate to that will fit what you prefer based on the belief system you hold to be true.
So someone who's highly focused on the Earth and ecological issues and wanting the planet to become more and more beautiful and not with conflict, a peaceful, wonderful place, heaven on earth, so to speak. They can have that experience without becoming part of the hybridization timeline. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, of course. Again, there is a kind of mass consensus in large part with humanity to have agreed to the idea of aligning with open contact and aligning with the idea of the hybridization program, aligning with the vibration of the Interstellar Alliance. Obviously, what we are suggesting in these steps are the steps that are necessary to align with that particular Earth reality for those who have chosen it. But yes, of course, there is always the availability of other versions of parallel realities, parallel versions of Earth, that don't necessarily include what it is that we are suggesting in these steps. And that is why we tell you it's up to you to decide to participate or not, so that you can feel it out for yourselves as to what kind of reality you have chosen to prefer, you have chosen to be a part of, what group you have chosen to navigate to different Earths with. However, the vast majority of individuals who are exploring the idea of the expansion of consciousness on your planet at this time, again, not that all of them have to have chosen this, but the vast majority, as we perceive it, of those who are exploring the expansion of consciousness have agreed to participate in this particular form of humanity's evolution. And those are the ones we are speaking to. And only those.
Okay. I have an image in my mind, this person is saying, in which they perceive all the people on Earth watching the news on their devices and watching live, like what happens on New Year's with the countdown and fireworks. I see the governments of Earth declare that they have opened their borders and burned their weapons. Every time I get that image, I get excited. I want to know if that image will happen on Earth, and if so, will it happen before we join the Interstellar Alliance or after? Is that something that has already happened in another version of Earth?
It is something that exists in many other versions of Earth, and you have to decide exactly whether or not you are navigating in that direction. There is a high probability that many of you are. The idea of such a thing would happen after open contact, but it would have to happen before you are officially joined to the Interstellar Alliance. So in between the idea of contact and the idea of actually joining the Interstellar Alliance is where something like that would most likely fall.
Okay. Now, this person is asking about the formula. And they say they live by the formula, but they can't seem to make it work.
Then they don't live by the formula.
Excuse me?
Then they do not live by the formula.
Right. They're saying that I was raised with beliefs like work before play, you have to earn your fun, life is hard, you can have too much of a good thing. I find it incredibly difficult to find and change the belief systems behind these. How can I learn to feel joy and passion and be sure that I am living the formula as a self-organizing principle?
Well, again, you have to actually live the formula, which you're not doing, because you're not allowing yourself to redefine some of those belief systems in certain ways that serve you. For example, when you talk about the idea that you have to earn the ability to be happy, you do not have to do that. You have to understand that joy is a natural state that belongs in your spirit, that is an expression of spiritual existence. You have to understand that the definitions you have are not working for you. You have to understand there are other definitions that would work for you and be more in alignment with the idea of what the formula is telling you, of what the formula is saying and how it works. So you have to match the definitions you have with the way that the formula has been described to you as working for you to your advantage. If you hold on to definitions that are contradictory to it, then yes, you are not using the formula. It will not work because they are of a different frequency, of a different vibration than the vibrational frequency of actually following and acting on the formula in the way that it has been delivered to you. So examine these definitions in a way that allows you to reinvent them, to understand that you don't have to hold on to them in the way that you have vocalized them. The idea is that, yes, of course, there will be challenges, but challenges are fun. Yes, of course, you have to take physical action, but that does not have to be a struggle. It does not have to feel like, quote unquote, work in the negative sense. Of course, you are physical and will have to do things physically. But when you are going with the flow, when you are being your true self, then all the definitions that you are now saying that don't work for you can be rearranged and reinvented to understand how they can work for you, such as what I just delivered to you, what I just suggested. That work does not have to feel like a struggle, does not have to feel like an effort. There are certain kinds of tensions and pressures that are positive and creative. Again, you have to allow yourself to feel it that way. Because when you are being creative, when you are being yourself, again, of course, you will have challenges because challenges help you grow, help your soul grow, help your spirit grow. So the idea is that there will be a kind of pressure, a creative pressure there. But the pressure that you experience in a positive sense is not the same kind of pressure that you experience in a negative sense. The pressure you experience in a positive sense is a kind of energy momentum that encourages and urges you to move forward, to take action, to be yourself, to be centered, to be true to who you are. The kind of pressure that you experience in the negative sense is the kind that allows you to feel overwhelmed, that you're not doing enough, that things aren't good enough. The idea that you can have too much of a good thing is what sets up the negative pressure. Now, we understand that some of these phrases that exist on your planet are done to make sure that you don't become egotistical about it. That's really the reason that some of them exist, so that you can always have a check and balance system in case you are worried that you will become too egotistical, too out of integrity, too out of alignment. That's the only reason they exist. If you recognize them simply as a check and balance system that can be understood lightly, and you understand you're always willing to check in with yourself to make sure that you are remaining in alignment and always within your integrity, then it's all right from now and then to experience that you might step a little bit outside of it, because you know you will always bring yourself back into alignment by having that check and balance system. But the check and balance system is not meant to be a rigid shackle on you that prevents you from exploring, that prevents you from being yourself, that prevents you from knowing that happiness is your birthright. So you have to take these things that you have said, these admonitions, these phrases, these sayings, a little bit more lightly as a check and balance system, just to make sure that you're staying true to yourself and not see them as such a rigid set of rules that cannot be broken in any event for any reason whatsoever. Just keep them as an understanding that you are always willing to be aware of when you are in or out of balance, and you can move forward by acting on the formula in a freer way that allows you to know you will always pay attention to what you're doing. You will always ask why you believe what you believe, and you will always check yourself to make sure you're remaining true and within integrity to your core vibration, your essential self. So treat those phrases more lightly, and you don't have to necessarily feel so impeded by them to be yourself and feel joy in your life and be a creative, imaginative being who is more than capable of following the formula and experiencing the ease and flow of how your life will unfold in a more natural way.
And this next question says, if people always follow their excitement, the dishes will never get washed, the laundry will never get done, and the garbage will never be picked up. How is society supposed to function like that?
That's a perfect example right there of somebody assuming that those things can never be exciting. They are having a negative definition of those things because they are believing that those things have to be negative. Nothing could be further from the truth. There are many individuals who enjoy washing the dishes because as the water, the warm water flows over their hands and they are meditating on washing the dishes, it is like falling into a meditation, which they actually enjoy. And some individuals can use that to give themselves a break, to take a moment of pause and just do something physically simple that allows them to feel more organized, allows them to feel that things are cleaner, allows them to feel in a more meditative state, a relaxed state, doing something simple as they may gaze out the window and look at the neighborhood around them while they are doing that. You have to be very, very aware of when you yourself are making an assumption that certain things are automatically negative when they don't have to be. So all of those things can still be done, and people can also invent new ways of doing those things if it is true that none of them actually is representative of their passion. You've already invented things like machinery to wash dishes and so on and so forth, machinery to collect and process the idea of waste in a more automated way. So that's also part of you being imaginative and creative and inventive enough to do that, but cannot come from the assumption that those things are automatically negative, because assuming that they are isn't what serves you, because there are people who actually find those endeavors to be relaxing, exciting, meditative, so on and so forth, for a variety of different reasons. So the first step is not to assume that those things are negative just because you have chosen to experience them that way.
Okay, and this person is saying, I need help finding my highest passion.
One moment. We're going to add something else to that last question.
Okay.
You have to understand also that sometimes the people that do things in society, like collect the garbage, as you say, are providing a service to humanity. So it's all about understanding some of these things also, doing laundry, collecting garbage, as doing service to a family, service to humanity, service to groups. The assumption that those things are automatically negative blocks individuals from understanding that being willing to do those things is actually providing a service for certain individuals. And service to humanity is how you allow yourself to find your center in many cases.
In
Please.
fact, aren't we hardwired in the sense that being of service raises our vibration? It's one of the highest endeavors, in a sense, that you can
Yes.
offer in your reality. And you see this quite often in the early in teachings of many
Yes.
different perspectives that
Yes. But we are getting ahead of ourselves because this issue will be one of the steps coming up in the near future.
Okay.
We will address it then.
All righty. So this person is having trouble finding their highest passion, and people seem to progress in life, getting married, having kids, buying houses, buying cars, following their interests and traveling. I feel my life isn't moving anywhere. I am at the same place in life that I was 6 years ago. I know it may not be 100% true as I have grown at work. However, the other aspects of my life have not progressed. Now, when I meet my friends who have moved on in life, I feel I am missing out, and I wonder what my purpose really is. I feel low at times, wondering if my spiritual practices are helping at all. That is this individual's experience right now.
Yes. Well, there's two things that we can address about this immediately. Number one is what we have always said, is that the idea of your passion doesn't have to be big things, so to speak. Doesn't have to be a career, doesn't have to be a large-scale project. At any given moment, you have a number of options available to you that are everyday things. Just always choose the one first that has more exciting, more attractiveness to it, more curiosity to it than any other choice, and do that first. And continue to do that as you unfold. Sometimes things will come along that will synchronistically be opportunities to do bigger things, bigger versions of acting on your excitement, but it isn't necessary that that happens. Because again, as long as you are always choosing what is more exciting than anything else, even on a simple level, then you are following the formula and you are having a life of following your passion. Again, passion doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be jumping up and down with your hair on fire or doing monumental things. But the idea in general is that this person is doing something where they're comparing themselves to other people, which you never should do. Because the idea is you are a unique individual. And what may feel like an expansion to someone won't necessarily feel like an expansion to you. So you have to get in touch with the fact that in talking about doing spiritual practices, that these spiritual practices include the idea of actually acting physically on the things that are representative of having more excitement than any other choice in them. Because many times people on your planet, when they talk about doing spiritual practices, are simply doing things for themselves and not for others in terms of sharing their gifts. They're not examining what they could be doing in service to humanity that is representative of being of service. A lot of times the idea of acting on your passion means you are giving something to someone else. You are actually expressing a gift that other people will find necessary to receive in their lives. So while it's all well and good that you feel you are growing at work, and that should be a signal to you of what we're talking about, because growing at work means you are doing something that is helping other people. You are being of service in the job that you do for the other people also doing similar jobs in the same business. So that should be your first clue that in order to expand your life in other areas, you also need to be doing things that are serving other people. If you have gifts to share, share them. If you need to write a book, write it. If you need to do a piece of art, do it. If you need to compose a piece of music, do it. The idea is that if you're holding your gifts back, if you're not acting on those things outwardly in service to humanity to give them things they may be waiting for you to give them, then that's why your life is not expanding, because you're not actually taking the action on the things that would be the gifts that you have to share with humanity. So take a cue from the fact that you have grown at work, doing something that helps other people, and incorporate that attitude and that behavior in the rest of your life by doing the things you are passionate to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
This person is asking, if I experience a situation that I don't like and I don't have the time or opportunity to immediately explore the beliefs that led to this situation, what would you recommend as a permission slip or a tool to learn a routine to switch realities faster? What can I immediately do in my mind to become more aware and learn the habit of perceiving this reality as not preferred by me and switching to a reality that I do prefer?
All right. Let's go back to the first sentence in that question. Read it again and then stop.
If I experience a situation that I don't like and I don't have the time or opportunity,
Stop. This is avoidance of looking at your belief system. Make the time. Make the opportunity. You are not making the time to look at your belief systems. You're not creating an opportunity within your schedule. Keeping so busy that you can't do that is an avoidance mechanism, Because if you start relaxing into yourself and not be in such a hurry to be busy with everything that prevents you from having the time, then you are avoiding the issue of looking at the beliefs, and that's what you need to do in order to change the beliefs in a way that would allow you to experience more of what you prefer. So you have to stop avoiding doing the process of examining your beliefs to let go of the ones that don't work for you. Make the time, create the opportunity. That's the most important thing you could do when that issue comes up of a belief or a situation or a reflection that you don't prefer. So you have to incorporate the ability into your schedule of having the time to do that. Otherwise, again, you're not following the formula. You're not allowing yourself to have the opportunity to look at those things for one reason or another. That's usually fear-based. So take the time. There's nothing to be afraid of in having the time to examine those things. You're not going to miss anything else. You can allow synchronicity to be the organizing principle that will allow you to accomplish what you need to accomplish without assuming that you have to be so busy that you cannot look within yourself or take the time to do so.
Thank you.
Yes.
How can we find grounding in a reality we don't believe in? Despite being unified in oneness and having visitors showing me multiple amazing tools daily, everything here still feels like part of the collective, but ultimately meaningless. I'm completely abandoning the 3D. How do we engage with this tangible reality that feels more like a waiting room? Additionally, how will things transform following the arrival of your people?
This goes back to what we have said. Get engaged. Get engaged in service in some way, shape, or form to humanity. Then it won't feel like a waiting room. If you're waiting around, then you are misunderstanding the whole point of why you chose to be here in physical reality and have this experience. So stop waiting, start doing, start engaging, start being of service in some way, shape, or form, start helping. Now, again, the idea is whatever people do with the help you share is their business and not yours. But you have to do the act. You have to take the action that is necessary for you to represent what kind of a world you prefer to live in. Because if you did live in that world, you would be doing the things that we're talking about. You would be engaging. You would be being of service. You would be taking action in those ways. So the idea is not to abandon what you call 3D. The idea is to remember that you chose to be having this experience, and you need to remember why. And it was for the purpose of aiding and assisting in the evolution of humanity by being of service in positive ways, so you can function as a living example of what other people can also choose for themselves should they decide to do so. So stop sitting on the sidelines and get engaged.
Thank you. Is the human mind capable of
One moment.
nonlinear?
One moment. Individuals listening to this transmission may notice a little bit of a difference in the energy that we are putting out in these answers. We are encouraging more strongly the idea of taking action, of really taking action on these steps, and all of the things that we are discussing that are involved in the questions that come up about these steps. Because we are underscoring and underlining the importance now of actually acting on the steps that are necessary for you to really bring about the vibrational frequency, if you so desire it, of open contact and alignment with the Interstellar Alliance. So, you will feel this energy being a little bit more, a little bit stronger in terms of encouraging you and urging you to take these steps. It doesn't mean you are being forced to do anything. It means that we are now not holding back in transmitting to you the energy frequency of commitment to the idea of taking steps, of being aware enough, being responsible enough being bold enough to stand your ground, be yourself, and actually take the physical actions and steps necessary to demonstrate what you have long said you are committed to demonstrating. It's not about sitting on the sidelines anymore. If you're really going to follow along in these steps and take the actions necessary for open contact, what we're doing by changing our frequency here is we are making this more physically real for you and underscoring how real the physical actions need to be, how necessary they are for you to really align with this vibration and let go of all the things that are not of the frequency of open contact and alignment with the Interstellar Alliance. So take no offense at what you may perceive as a more intensified delivery of this information. It's still up to you and still in your hands. You are free to choose with your free will whether to participate and to what degree to participate in these steps. But that doesn't mean we're going to hold back in underscoring how important it is to really stand your ground and actually take the physical actions necessary to demonstrate the commitment to understanding how the formula works. Because now it's time to walk your talk. So, please go on to the next question.
Yes. Is the human mind capable of nonlinear thinking?
Yes, but it has to be in balance with linear thinking as long as you are deciding to have a physical experience. So yes, you can think nonlinearly, multidimensionally, simultaneously, with incorporating that knowledge and awareness into the idea of whatever is necessary as a linear expression of it in your physical reality, so it will be applicable to your physical lives. So you can do both. You can balance it out.
And is reading always better than watching educational digital content?
No, it's up to you as to how to absorb information. But it depends upon how you do that, how you absorb that. For some people, reading may be easier for them to absorb the information. For others, it may be more the digital content. It still all comes back down to what we have said about the idea of story structure being built into your psyche. So if the digital content and the books that you're reading are all structured in a way to deliver the information according to the harmonic points of story structure, then you will absorb the information. So it's not so much about the medium, it's about the way the information is delivered that makes the difference in how you retain it, how you absorb it, and how you apply it from that point forward.
Okay. And this person wants to know, how can I maintain a steady flow of income without repeatedly finding myself struggling to pay rent after indulging in purchases that excite me?
Well, you have to pay attention as to whether indulging in those purchases is actually representative of excitement or anxiety. So you have to have more deep and honest self-investigation to be able to tell the difference between anxiety and excitement. Because if you feel that you are, as you say, strapping yourself in some way, shape, or form by spending more than you have, then that may be an indication not so much of the belief that you will attract what you need, but the idea that there is a sense of lack within you. So you have to pay attention to why you are doing what you are doing, for what reasons are you spending the money that you're spending. At the same time, again, please do remember that we have discussed that there are different forms of abundance, and allowing all of them to be equal, not just having money stand out as to be the only way things can be done, but all of them being equal to one another, then you can relax the idea of what it is you may think you need at any given moment. That will then allow that to synchronistically come into your life in whatever form the abundance needs to be there to allow you to continue to act on your passion. But again, fundamentally, you have to really examine whether you are purchasing the things you are purchasing because they are truly representative of your excitement, that you truly need them in your life, or whether you are just making an assumption based on anxiety and disguising it as excitement so you don't have to pay attention to the real reason you may be purchasing those things. So just be honest with yourself in your self-examination.
Okay, and this next question is, can you please give some examples of what limiting beliefs a person may hold that is causing them to hold excess fat on their body?
Well, this goes back, now again, not the only reason, but this goes back to one of the typical euphemisms that your language provides, in the fact that you may be, quote unquote, waiting around to do what it is you need to be doing, that you're not flowing your energy outward in giving gifts, in sharing things, in doing what you're passionate about, in being of service to humanity, and therefore the energy builds up because it's not got anywhere to go, and it turns into matter, because energy, matter are different sides of the same thing. So when you are waiting to do what it is you need to be doing to express yourself fully, to follow your passion fully, then that can turn into mass and add weight to your system physically.
And how might that apply to people as they age? Not that all people gain weight, but seems like a large percentage of the population gains weight as they get older.
Well, again, many individuals in your population have been waiting for a long time to do what it is they are truly passionate about doing, to be their true selves. And the longer they wait, the more weight they may gain, because the idea of aging starts to imply in their belief system that it now may be too late for them to actually take those actions, and therefore that adds more weighting, and therefore that adds more weight.
Okay. And what do you know about people who are addicted to substances such as alcohol, weed, and cigarettes?
Addictions are usually an attempt to do one of two things. They feel an emptiness within themselves, and therefore they are using external substances to attempt to fill what they feel is a void within their spirit, within their soul. Or they are using those substances to numb the feeling so they don't have to pay attention to it. In both cases, in a sense, it's an avoidance of really looking within the self and understanding how to fill what they determine is a void within themselves, what they believe to be something missing from themselves, about the idea of their worth, their value, their deservability. All these things prevent them from feeling their connection to source, from feeling their self-empowerment. And therefore they try to fill what becomes experienced as an emptiness, as a void, with something externally which will never work, or they try to numb it with those same substances so they don't have to pay attention to it and then be afraid of looking within themselves, because they are afraid that looking within themselves, they might find out that the emptiness they feel is actually their true state, that's actually true about them, that they're worthless, that they're undeserving, so on and so forth. There is nothing to be afraid of, and people can be assisted and guided to looking within themselves without worrying that the idea of their negative beliefs about themselves are actually going to ultimately be true. Because if that were true, you wouldn't exist, because everyone is worthy by the fact of their existence. But different people have to be guided in different ways to find that out, to realize that truth about themselves. So it will depend upon the kind of person, the kind of beliefs they have, the reasons they're holding on to those beliefs. Sometimes they hold on to those beliefs also because they get attention that way. And if they felt undeserving of attention on their own, they will do things like put themselves in dire circumstances and dire situations where their very physical life is threatened, so that other people will start paying attention to them. And so in that sense, it may also work for them. But the idea is that, of course, that never ultimately works. They have to give themselves the love, and they have to give themselves the attention, and they have to allow themselves to know that that void that they feel is not really a void. It is just a belief system that they have about themselves that is not in alignment with who they truly are.
So when an individual allows themselves to feel happy, to feel their connection to source,
Yes.
when they allow this, that automatically shifts them out of the state that you're describing, where they feel an emptiness or a loneliness, and they seek out external things to fill that.
Yes, because again, external things aren't real. We understand that physical reality seems very solid to you, but it's not. It's an illusion. And therefore, those things have no real substance to them. So what you're doing is you're feeding yourself, in a sense, a diet of illusions when you are addicted to things that really have no substance. It's nothing more than a reflection or a play act saying, I feel empty, I feel undeserving, I feel unworthy, I feel that I have no soul, no solid connection to anything in creation. So all you're doing is demonstrating that by taking these illusionary props and assuming that they're actually the things that you need to repair yourself, or that you need to numb yourself so you don't have to pay attention to it. Remember, physical reality isn't real. So even though you create a physical reaction to these substances, you're actually doing that yourself. You're deteriorating yourself by yourself. You are diminishing your energy and you are making disconnections to physical reality on your own. It's just that those kinds of substances become negative permission slips that you can say, it's not my fault, I'm doing these things, and these things are doing it to me. It's all an illusion. It's all a play act.
So
But
in a
it's
sense,
based on
it's-
the idea of a negative sense of self instead of a positive one.
So the idea is that that is creating a permission slip to allow you to bypass the negative beliefs that are keeping you from feeling the connection that you
Yes.
naturally have to source. And that's when a permission slip becomes a negative
Yes.
thing, when you rely on that to put you in that state instead of realizing that you have the ability to choose that state and
Yes.
not buy into the negative beliefs that are diminishing your energy and keeping you feeling
Yes.
isolated.
Yes, because the fundamental vibrational frequency of addiction is that a person feels like they have no choice. And that's a choice they're making. But they don't know that because it doesn't feel that way. So they have to understand the paradox that having an experience of feeling like you have no choice is a choice. And once they understand that, they can break through it, if they desire to.
So, like in the situation where a person comes into this life with a theme of an eating disorder, like an anorexia or bulimia, from a very young age, is there a special reason why someone would choose that?
Well, yes, again, there can be. Again, please remember, there are as many reasons as there are people. Now, some of them fall into collective categories, yes, and can be generally similar, yes. The idea sometimes why a soul would choose that is not even so much for their own soul's growth, although it always does help because it can accelerate whatever a person might be willing to learn in physical reality by having an experience like that and transforming it relatively rapidly in the period of a lifetime. As far as the soul is concerned, that's a brief period. But the idea is that it also helps other people learn how to have compassion and start relating to people like that to figure out what's going on within them. And that helps society as well understand why they may be creating certain things that they are creating that they may not actually prefer to be experiencing. So sometimes a soul will choose that, not even for themselves so much as for what it will do to help society learn and grow in more compassionate ways. So again, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
And in this example, the person is saying that their older brother has a disability due to a genetic condition and he can't speak or walk. I'm interested in exploring the spiritual significance of individuals with disabilities in the physical world. Can you provide
Yes.
some insight on this?
Same answer. What are you learning that you otherwise wouldn't have learned had your brother's condition been normal? Are there different ways you now have to learn to communicate with someone who cannot speak? Are there different things you are learning about assisting someone who cannot walk? How do these things symbolize issues within yourself, your family, and society in terms of learning to see things in a different light, learn to do things in a different way, to have compassion and understanding and creative imaginations strong enough and broad enough to figure out How can we allow these people to be valuable members of society, and what are we learning from them we otherwise wouldn't learn by what they have chosen to experience in this way? These are the first questions that need to be asked in relation to dealing with someone with those kinds of conditions. What are we learning? How is this serving humanity? How is it serving society that this soul chose to have what appear to be these limitations, and it's forcing us to look for new ways, different ways to think outside the box, as you say, to interact with them and engage them and admit them into society, because they are helping society expand and improve the ways in which we communicate, we act, we deal with other people that are different from ourselves, so on and so forth.
Okay. And what is the difference between self-realization and enlightenment?
Not so much. You have to be self-realized to be enlightened, and you have to be enlightened to be self-realized. It's basically two sides of the same coin of being your true self and being awake and aware in the idea that you are creating your reality and that you have the freedom to choose what experience you have of that, and taking the responsibility, not in a negative way, but in the ability to respond for all the things you experience, because you know you are your own universe, and yet you are interacting with other facets of it in whatever way, shape, or form serves humanity best, and serves everyone best, and serves all that is the best at being itself and experiencing itself in all the ways that it can. It is the understanding of that that promotes enlightenment and awareness of self in terms of what it means to be the self.
And when our pets pass away, is their death experience the same as ours? Do they experience a waking up? Do they have a life review? Does their energy, their soul hang out with us? How can we connect with our pets who have passed?
Think of them, feel the love you have for them. They will feel it, they will pick it up. They don't have exactly the same kind of process of transitioning back into spirit. The idea of a life review is not exactly what it is for a human. The idea is that they may see or experience flashes of experiences that they experienced with their family in physical reality, but it's not so much a review as it is a recognition of the reason they were attracted to be with that family, so that it is reinforced, it is strengthened, and allows them to continue to interact with that family from spirit in a new and different way. So when you know that they are willing and capable of still continuing to interact with you from spirit, think of them, feel the love you have for them. They will feel it, they will pick it up, and they do sometimes interact with people in a variety of ways, even though you may not completely perceive it to be so. But you can hone your senses, you can feel and know when they are there for you. They can also be off doing other things. But the idea is that, of course, in spirit, they are more expanded. They may not be exactly the idea of the pet or the family member as an animal that you experienced in that limited way, but they do still contain that. They are bigger than that, just like you are bigger than that when you are in spirit. But nevertheless, they are keenly and constantly aware of the connections that they have with you, and are more than willing to engage with you when you hone your senses and are capable of perceiving that they are doing so. So send them love, think of them, they will pick it up, and they will respond. It's up to you to have the senses that are keen enough to know when those responses are coming to you.
Many people experience a thing where they have a dream about their pet, and the pet is like still alive, and it's telling them, I'm fine, you know?
Yes.
How can that can be very reassuring, especially if you lose a loved pet. How can you generate an experience like that? Or can you communicate with your pet and ask them, please come in my dream and tell me how you are? Or
Yes,
something
you
like that?
can. But again, the idea is to communicate through imagery, because that's more representative of a telepathic bond. Just see them doing it. Just see yourself interacting with them in your imagination, in your mind's eye. visualize the idea of the interaction. Put it out there with feeling. Feel what that would be like to have that interaction that you picture. So use pictures and feelings. That's the strongest way to communicate with them. And sometimes when you have those dreams, even though your pet may still be alive, the idea is that your animal is also telling you that they exist like you do in spirit, and that physical reality is simply a part of them and a temporary thing. But that your natural state is spirit. You never really leave it, and neither do they.
Okay, thanks. And what happens to a person who commits suicide? Does his soul experience something different from someone who experiences death at an old age?
Well, slightly. It can depend on the reasons for it. And the idea is that more often than not, it represents that there might be, shall we say, unfinished business, that they sort of cut their agreement short. So nevertheless, they are wrapped in unconditional love. They are given an opportunity to assess why they made those choices, what was going on in the personality as a physical being that allowed them to feel they had no other choice. At the same time, they are still capable of having the choice as to how to finish the agreement. Because they made an agreement, the agreement must be followed through with. Now, how they follow through with it is up to them. They're still given the freedom to decide whether they want to experience the idea of another incarnation to play it out, whether they want to simply pursue following through with that in spirit or in another reality, in another dimension, in another civilization, as an incarnation or not. But the idea is that once you create a momentum by making an agreement to experience certain themes, you will in some way, shape, or form need to finish that, because a momentum and inertia has been created and the momentum will carry you forward. But you can wait a while, you can reassess, you don't have to do it right away. You're not automatically pulled back into physical reality or anything like that. You are given an opportunity to discuss with your guides, with counsels, with anyone helping you, your soul family, to discuss what you got out of it, what you are learning, and what you want to do about completing the agreement in some way, shape, or form. You may complete it in a different way altogether, but you will choose ultimately to complete it because you're the one that initiated it from a particular perspective, that it was important to do so for your soul's growth. And as a soul, once again, you will not abandon that reason. So you'll play it out in some way, shape, or form, but you're given more than enough opportunity to make the decision as to how to do that while you are wrapped in unconditional love and assisted by your guides and your soul family.
And how can the formula help you if you're going through the grieving experience?
Well, again, it's all right to momentarily experience the grief, missing something, missing someone that was in your life physically. But the longer that lasts, the more you actually prevent yourself from feeling the connection that is still there to the person, even though they're now back in spirit. So grief can ultimately be a block to communication because you are still experiencing your relationship to them as something that's lost, something that's missing. So we understand that in the moment, grief can be something that will simply allow you to come to terms with the idea that something has changed in your relationship with them. That's fine. That's what the grief is for. It's giving you an opportunity to examine yourself and your relationship with that person so that you can come to terms with the fact that something has changed. But now you have to get to a point where you realize that you're now dealing in a relationship with them where they are more than what they were. So you can now start to experience it with joy and congratulations that they have expanded back into their natural state, that they are experiencing unconditional love in their experience, that they are sending you that unconditional love, and they are urging you and encouraging you to reach out into spirit to know that they're all right and to know that that relationship will always exist no matter what is going on with them, because that's always going to be a piece of them. And it is always going to be important for their soul's growth to have had that relationship in physical reality with you. So grief ultimately needs to transform and gives you the opportunity to transform the idea of your relationship to them by letting go of the belief systems that you've lost something, that something is missing and starting to reconnect to them in a bigger, larger, more expanded, more loving way.
Okay, and can you give your perspective on teachings that talk about waking up from this world and returning to God? There seems to be an idea out there that this is a world of ego and suffering, and that we are going to eventually wake up from this world and return to God, and then stay in that love forever. How does this reconcile with ideas of us being eternal creators who continue to learn and grow and explore forever? Is that just some negative part of our ego wanting that?
In some senses, yes. The idea is that if you have experienced a lot of, shall we say, of the tough school, the challenging school, and in a way where you experience the effort of transforming and overcoming negative and fear-based beliefs, then yes, you are longing for relief, you are longing for rest, and that's okay, and you can have that. But the idea is that once you go back into spirit and are wrapped in unconditional love and have had a chance to process and rest from the experience you chose to have in physical reality, whether positive or negative, it is now the soul's prerogative to understand that it doesn't want to remain at rest. It wants to move forward. It wants to grow. It wants to go with the flow of creation. And therefore, it will choose something, whatever that may be, again, to have an experience that will allow the soul to grow. So that never ends, but you are given an opportunity, as you say, to quote unquote, go back to God. And what that basically means is, yes, you can take a break, you can take a rest, you can have a soul vacation in order to allow yourself to process what you went through, to absorb it, to grow from it, and to determine from those lessons what it is you would next like to do that will allow your soul to continue to expand and to grow. Because once you are a soul, you can feel that urge much more strongly, that there is an actual inertia and a momentum to expand. And therefore, you will ultimately choose to continue to have another experience that will allow you to expand. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to incarnate back on Earth or anything like that. It's up to you. But you will choose to grow and expand, because that's the nature of existence, is to be all that it is. And that never ends. So that growth, that expansion doesn't necessarily have to continue to be felt in a suffering way, in a way that tires you out, but you will choose to grow and expand after you have taken a break, if you feel that a break is necessary. You are always allowed to move at your own pace. That is comfortable for you. You may forget that when you're in physical reality because of the nature of your belief system in physical reality that may make things seem to be too urgent. But once you are back in spirit, you will fall back into your natural flow, your natural pace, and you will take whatever amount of timelessness is necessary for you to decide, yes, I'm now excited to expand and move forward again in some way, shape, or form, and you will make the appropriate choice at that time.
And if we are only ever the person that we are now, like you say, and never become anyone else, how can we continue to evolve and have new experiences after the person that we are dies and the lifetime is over?
Well, this person is assuming that physical personality is something that in some way, shape, or form is all you are. So you will always continue to expand and grow and have different experiences, as I just described, in some way, shape, or form. And again, you can create an experience of reincarnation to appear to be a different person, but the idea is that it's just the way that your consciousness starts looking from a higher level through different eyes that all exist at the same time. So it's just a matter of changing the focus of what you are as a consciousness to have these different experiences that all exist simultaneously. So you will use that ability to grow and expand, but the person that you're looking through the eyes of, just to use that particular euphemism, that remains that person, but it doesn't mean you can't have an experience of being a different person, because in a sense, the person that you are familiar with that you are now is not who you are anyway. It's still eyes that you're looking through, and you have decided to look through other eyes, and you will decide to look through other eyes, and therefore it's just a matter of focusing your consciousness in a way that gives you different experiences that allow you to grow, even though you are taking advantage of a structure that already exists. We know that that explanation can be a little bit confusing, but nevertheless, that's the best we can do with your language.
Actually, that's very helpful.
All right.
If all the parallel realities already exist and we never make changes to the structure, does it mean that the realities with pain and suffering will always be experienced by some part of consciousness?
Yes. Nothing ever goes away. But again, you have to understand there are different ways to experience that concept. So there are many different ways to experience it. Sometimes you have experienced it in the way that you might call negatively. And yes, that's always a choice. It's always there. It's always part of the structure. So yes, the opportunity always exists. It has to, because some souls actually choose that for their own growth.
Okay, we have some ET questions I think I'll ask here. Could you explain why Sasani clothing is blue? What kind of clothes do people wear in Willa's society?
We have never said that all Sasani clothing is blue. I may have described some of the things I was wearing as blue at the time, but not all Sasani clothing is blue. We're not sure why you understood it that way. Nevertheless, there is a variety of color in Sasani clothing. A lot of it is similar, a lot of it is form-fitting, a lot of it serves many different functions, and we actually have said in the past that it can change color, and it can actually change its function, because it is a kind of nanotechnological suit that can become many things, including becoming a spacesuit. So it's not always the same color, and it's not always performing the same function. That's a misunderstanding. If we were not clear about that, we apologize.
So it almost
Now,
sounds
in
like,
Willa's time, the clothing is a variety of things. Mostly, it is always very comfortable. It is relatively loose-fitting in many cases, although, again, there are exceptions based on the functionality of what it is that people choose to wear. But by Willa's time, a lot of people will simply wear what they're comfortable wearing. Sometimes even what might be considered to be a mix of older fashion styles and styles that may come from other planets as well.
And are there other members of your family that are currently being channeled through other people on Earth right now?
There are other members of the Sasani society that are being channeled, no other members of my family, except now and then you have heard my father come through on rare occasions.
Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have a sister that is engaged in the idea of the creation of the birthing villages that crop up now and then to allow Sasani children to be born.
Anybody else?
There are others. It is not time for me to talk about them.
Okay. And why is it that you're in a parallel reality 500 light years from Sirius and not just 500 light years from Sirius constellation?
No, you have misunderstood what we have said. We are in a parallel reality. Our solar system is about, if you were to overlap the realities, 500 light years in the direction of the Orion constellation from Earth. We have never said we are 500 light years away from Sirius. We are 500 light years away from Earth in the direction of the Orion constellation, not in the direction of Sirius.
And for those beings from other races, Pleiadian, for example, that have incarnated as a human in order to support humanity, what will they do after they leave the human body? Will they re-embody and rejoin their original family in the Pleiadian sense?
Well, some of them may not. It's up to them, isn't it? You're asking that question, whoever is asking it, as if there is simply one way for them to do things. They can decide what they will do next. Some of them may continue their Pleiadian journey. Some of them may continue a human journey on Earth. Some of them may go elsewhere. It's up to the individual to decide what is best for their soul.
Okay, and there is a symbol known as the flower of life, and it's been used by a number of different cultures. Can you
Yes.
tell us anything about this symbol? Is there any hidden meaning, and what could we learn from this symbol?
Yes. The symbol is a shorthand representation of the idea we have discussed of the double Fibonacci spiral overlapping one another in opposite directions, and bringing out the idea of the nodal points where the lines cross that represent the different states of energy and matter that form what you understand to be the physical and non-physical multiverse. So it's a shorthand symbol that represents the underlying structure, energetically speaking, in terms of a consciousness pattern of how all matter and energy is presented in the multiverse.
Okay. And do the Giza pyramids line up with Orion, and also do they line up with Cygnus, since that was where the Anunnaki originated?
The three main pyramids on the Giza Plateau do have some alignment with the idea of Orion and the three stars in the belt. They do not line up with Cygnus. And remember, these things were created long after the Anunnaki were gone. So there is no indication in the three pyramids of the idea of the Anunnaki's connection with Cygnus. It is not representative of that. It is representative of the Orion connection.
Okay, and you have described how crop circles on Earth are higher level communication with Gaia. Do phenomenon like crop circles occur on Essassani and other worlds? And how do they differ from those on Earth? And how do you relate to them?
They do in different ways and can actually form in different substances. The idea is that it can be experienced, as on our world and on some other worlds, as a very playful interaction with certain interdimensional levels of consciousness that communicate by making alterations in the electromagnetic energy of certain physical substances in physical reality. But they don't have to all appear in crops. Some of them can appear in water, some of them can appear in ice, some of them can even appear in solid matter, some of them can appear in the air. So it just depends on how the vibrational resonance of the civilization creates a medium for those interdimensional consciousnesses to be capable of projecting their communicational symbols. On Earth, it is used in crops because that is one of the natural ways you have of relating to the idea of Earth and the elementals, is in the things that supply sustenance to you as a human being. And so it's the easiest way to get your attention. It's the easiest medium to manipulate because you have an intimate relationship with the idea of crops because they feed you.
And can you explain your role with the Ascended Masters? Are you working with them?
Yes, in many cases, we have actually mentioned this before, where in transmitting to your collective consciousness, we always also go through the different archetypal levels, which includes the Ascended Masters, in order to make sure that the information we are sharing with all of you does not in any way, shape, or form intervene or spoil the surprises you have created for yourself to discover. So yes, we are always working with them to determine the best way in which to deliver information that serves humanity best.
And is there a symbol we can meditate on to improve our sense of self-confidence?
You would have to examine the beliefs about why you are confident that you have no confidence. So allow yourself to understand there is no such thing as a lack of confidence, but you can be very confident that you have no confidence. So see the symbol of the yin-yang, the paradox, that there is both sides blending together, creating what appear to be opposite ideas, but they're still part of one thing, and each contains a part of the other. Paradox. Just think paradox. When you think anything like that is lacking, I lack trust, I lack confidence, I lack power, understand from the point of paradox. The symbol, whatever symbol you like that represents paradox, be it the yin-yang symbol or even just the letter P, capital P for paradox. Allow yourself to focus on that and understand the paradox in what you are saying. When you think you have little confidence or no confidence, remember you're confident about that. When you think you have no trust, you lack trust, you are trusting that idea. When you think you have no self-empowerment, no power at all, you're using your power and control to create that experience of lack of empowerment. So think of it in terms of paradox. Whatever symbol or letter represents paradox to you, to put you back in the center, in the neutral space between what appear to be two opposing ideas.
And how can we tell we're living in a split parallel reality dimension? You've spoken about it being like looking through glass. How do we know we're looking at a split reality or that we're not actually part of that reality?
You know it by when you follow the formula and you experience different things than other people are experiencing that may even seem almost impossible or contradictory to experience in a reality like what they're creating. You know by your own experience of what you are attracting into your life that you are existing in a different vibrational reality than they are.
Okay. And lastly, this person says, when I started listening to your transmissions, I was attracted to the crystal skull session as well as the sacred circuitry session. What is the connection between these two topics, and how can I best utilize this connection for contact?
The sacred circuits are representative of the idea of changing the neural pathways in your brain to be more capable of receiving higher frequency energy. The crystalline matrix, the molecular makeup of the crystal skulls, is a kind of representation of this idea that they have certain pathways within them, molecularly speaking, in the crystalline formation that allows them to collect and absorb and retain and transmit information that is in alignment with the rearrangements you have made of the neural net in your brain by following the sacred circuits, which make you a better antenna to receive the kind of higher frequency information that is stored in the skulls.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. So we thank you for these interactions, for allowing us to share these perspectives. And again, we encourage you to take the actions and the steps, if you're willing, to be able to align with open contact, to give others a chance to do so as well, to recognize the difference between theory and what has gone beyond theory because of your own research. Take the time to do so. Take the time to recognize when something has gone over the border from theory to fact, even if it's still anecdotal. You can allow yourself to know the difference. But in this context, obviously, we are talking about the idea of contact with ETs, such as ourselves, with other interdimensional beings. But all of this comes down to having more contact within yourselves and with each other. Being a reflection of the idea of the interstellar alliance in your own reality. Mirroring that vibration, that energy. So, our unconditional love to you all, and we give you over now to the remainder of this transmission. Go into whatever receptive state, meditative state, relaxed state you so desire, you so prefer. And we encourage you, as always, to breathe and breathe and breathe.